He wasn't yelling, he wasn't flexing, he was crying. A man who survived federal prison came home with one of the hottest buzzes in rap, got picked up in a private jet, had a chain placed around his neck by one of the most powerful names in Southern hip-hop. That man was on a live stream, breaking down in tears. That image alone should tell you something went seriously wrong. But to understand how a dream deal turned into public tears and a viral brawl, you have to understand exactly who he signed with. Because this wasn't some small indie label. This was a name attached to 40 years of rap history. And that history changes everything. In 1986, J. Prince founded Rap-A-Lot Records in Houston, Texas. At the time, Southern hip-hop wasn't taken seriously by the mainstream industry. Rap-A-Lot changed that. The label helped launch the Ghetto Boys, brought national attention to Houston rap, and became one of the most influential independent labels in music history. Over decades, J. Prince didn't just build a catalog, he built a reputation. Influence, alliances, the kind of connections where powerful people answer the phone when you call. Then came J. Prince Jr. He didn't start from scratch. He inherited infrastructure and added his own moves. One of the biggest attached to his name, he discovered Drake online and helped connect him to Lil Wayne. That one move alone shifted music history. The entity they built together, Mob Ties, carries all of that weight. So when Finesse2tymes stepped out of federal prison in mid-2022 with buzz louder than ever and Mob Ties came calling, that wasn't just a signing. That was stepping into a legacy built over 4 decades. From the outside, it looked like protection. A street artist backed by serious infrastructure. A comeback story with powerful alignment behind it. But here's what people don't see when the cameras are flashing. A chain is symbolic. The contract is real. The signing ceremony was a movie. Private jet, cameras rolling, J. Prince Jr. placing a Mob Ties chain around Finesse's neck himself. It wasn't quiet or subtle, it was a statement. Interviews followed, features lined up. The Mob Ties brand attached itself to his identity almost overnight. For a man who had just come home from federal time, this looked like security. But what nobody was talking about was the paperwork. And the paperwork is where everything started cracking. Months after the signing, alleged details of the contract split began circulating. According to leaked breakdowns, the deal was structured to give Finesse 35%, Mob Ties 35%, and another 30% to JPE, an entity tied to J. Prince Jr. himself. On paper, that already felt tight, but the percentage wasn't even the main issue. The real friction was control. Reports claimed that managerial authority, show approvals, release strategy, major business decisions remained centralized on the label's side. That meant even if Finesse was creating the music, he allegedly didn't have final say over how or when major moves happened. And here's what made that hit even harder. Finesse was not moving freely. He was on supervised release after his federal sentence. Every headline matters when you're in that situation. Every altercation matters. Every public move gets scrutinized. That kind of legal pressure means you need income flowing, momentum building, and decisions moving fast. But if someone else controls the pace of your career, approvals, releases, bookings, and you're watching opportunities pass while legal pressure mounts, that's not just frustrating, that's suffocating. That suffocation showed up on a live stream in January 2026. He went live and spoke openly. His voice cracked when he talked about feeling boxed in by people who were born into money while he was still fighting to build his own. He said he had dropped 2 projects with minimal promotion. He claimed he was spending $10,000 to $15,000 per video out of pocket just to keep visuals going. He said independent offers worth millions were being turned down without his full agreement. Then he said something that stopped people cold. He said he was willing to drop 5 albums just to buy his freedom. 5 albums to escape a deal. That wasn't bravado. That sounded like desperation. Like a man who came home expecting a second chance and instead found a different kind of ceiling. And when he broke down crying, the internet didn't laugh. They watched. Because this was the same man who had survived years behind bars. And he wasn't crying about prison. He was crying about a contract. While the label tension was building, another situation was adding pressure from a different direction. The bond between Finesse2tymes and Honeycomb Brazy had started behind bars. Mutual respect, prison-born loyalty, stories of real support when it counted. When Finesse came home, the expectation was immediate reciprocity. Finesse said he was still finding his footing. Money conversations started before emotional reconnection caught up. That gap turned into diss tracks, public shade, and accusations that went too far, including words that, once said in hip-hop, leave permanent marks even when walked back. For months, it looked like a permanent split. Then, near the end of 2020, they reconciled. And the reason mattered. Both reportedly realized they had been fighting each other, while larger forces benefited from the chaos. The real tension wasn't between them. It was about power structures above them both. That realization brought peace between the two rappers. But the tension between Finesse and J. Prince Jr. was only getting worse. And soon, it wouldn't stay verbal. When the footage started circulating, the internet froze. Finesse2tymes and J. Prince Jr., publicly aligned business partners supposed to be building together, physically clashing, not arguing, not debating online, fighting. No long captions followed, no official statements, just shaky video and silence from both camps. And that silence made it louder. Because fights like that don't happen overnight. For months there had been whispers, dice game arguments, heated words at private gatherings, affiliates stepping in to cool things down. Nothing officially confirmed, but enough smoke that when the footage surfaced, people weren't shocked. They had been waiting for it. What made this different was the symbolism. Finesse had already cried publicly about feeling trapped. He had questioned the structure of his deal on a live stream watched by thousands. And now here he was in physical conflict with the same executive tied to that structure. That wasn't random emotions spilling over. That was eruption after months of pressure. And here's what made it genuinely dangerous. Not just for optics, but legally. When you're on supervised release after a federal sentence, a physical altercation isn't just a bad headline, it's a potential violation. Authorities don't need a conviction, they need cause. And a viral video of you fighting is cause. That's why some voices in the industry went quiet when this surfaced. Podcasters who usually have opinions on everything suddenly chose their words carefully. Bloggers analyzed without taking sides. Because nobody wants to get in the middle of something that touches both federal supervision and a name connected to Rap-A-Lot Records. When you challenge a structure tied to 40 years of industry legacy, the response doesn't always come immediately. Sometimes it comes strategically. And quiet can be the most powerful response of all. So now, everything sits in a complicated place. Contract tensions allegedly unresolved, legal pressure ongoing, public support split, a physical confrontation on camera, a supervised release situation that makes every move high stake. And underneath all of it, a question the industry doesn't like asking out loud. When artists come home from prison with buzz and urgency, and powerful structures offer them a seat at the table, is that protection? Or is it leverage used at the right moment? Because when you need stability and someone has it to offer, you negotiate from a weaker position. That doesn't automatically mean exploitation, but it does mean imbalance. And imbalance, over time, creates exactly the kind of resentment that ends up on a live stream and eventually in a parking lot. Finesse came home thinking the chain meant freedom. But in this industry, the most important document was never the one around his neck. It was the one he signed. Prison bars don't always disappear when you come home. Sometimes they just turn into clauses, percentages, approval rights, silence. The tears weren't weakness. They were pressure cracking open in real time. The brawl wasn't random. It was the end of a conversation that private meetings had already failed to resolve. And the silence from the other side isn't nothing. It might be the loudest move in the whole story. One thing is clear. The fight on camera wasn't the beginning of this. It was the symptom. And the real battle, the one written in ink, is still being decided.